I'm 6, and I'm sitting in a trench behind a pile of construction waste. Boys went on the offensive, bypassing the hangars from the other side, so I sit here and cherish the hope of getting close to them from the rear. Blue plastic toilet a couple of meters away exudes a unique bouquet of stench, but I don't care. It's hot. Colors of summer sun paint boards, boxes, and piles of sand around me in orange. I'm 26, and this long-forgotten memory strikes me for the first time in 2 decades. I'm sitting in a shelter behind a pile of construction debris. A blue plastic toilet booth is 2 meters away, and the shock forces of an invincible multidimensional conglomerate are determined to turn me into minced meat. How did I end up in this situation? Well, apart from years of waiting, buying a virtual reality headset, and assembling a new PC, it's surprisingly simple. I played Half-Life Alyx to its 6th chapter, and I'm currently making my way to an abandoned construction site towards the main goal of the game. By some seemingly strange coincidence, everywhere I cast my gaze looks exactly like during a childhood wargame, in a yard, 20 years ago. This feeling is familiar to all Half-Life fans in Eastern Europe. In many ways, the gloomy dystopian world is reminiscent of our neighboring streets. This, of course, is not by accident, and for people like me, the games in this series take on an additional, more personal meaning. Time in the Half-Life series seems to be frozen at the turn of the millennium, somewhere between the childhood and adolescence of loyal franchise fans. And upon immersing ourselves in the game, we plunge into memories. Our first impressions of Half-Life series, our hometown, our long train rides. This is especially true for Half-Life Alyx, which takes us back in time in every sense. As a prequel, it sends the player 5 years before the start of Half-Life 2. As a new game in the franchise, it makes us contemplate 13 long years of waiting. And, being a personal experience, the game does not hesitate to use players' memory against them. From the first seconds of starting a playthrough, it punches us in the guts with nostalgia. So what is this game about? What story is it trying to tell by cleverly juggling euphoria, angst, and innovative gameplay? What does Half-Life Alyx do in a franchise where the first game is about an unequal struggle against circumstances, a kind of battle with no chance of winning, whereas the second mutates into a fantasy of power and liberation? What would you like to talk about after 13 years of silence? Half-Life Alyx is about the past. A virtual retrospective of City-17 surrounds us from the first moments of the game. The Citadel, the collapse of which we saw in Episode 1, is in front of us anew, incomplete once more, but this time unfinished, not yet destroyed. Eli Vance, whose death in Episode 2 almost resulted in the death of the franchise, is alive and ready to fight for the Resistance. Combine's iron-fisted dictatorship has yet to tune its repressive machine. Alyx is still naive.
Nope, it exploded.
A teenager in a sinister, yet thrilling world. The further she traverses the twists and turns of the story, the more trash cans and destroyed apartments she explores in pursuit of resonant bullet clips, the more strange friends she makes in abandoned buildings, the clearer it becomes. Half-Life Alyx is not just about the past, it is about childhood and adolescence. Who wasn't a kid going for a walk alone, imagining oneself as a secret agent or a superhero? Who hasn't wandered into construction sites, abandoned fortresses, or dead malls? There, in these completely unfit for children locales, we all imagined stories about saving the world, or at least about defeating a terrible foe. Partisans and scouts on enemy territories went crawling through pipes, climbing garbage piles, and galloping on roofs, while our parents were losing their minds waiting for us at home.
You good, honey?
Alyx goes through the same scene. Looking through her eyes, moment by moment we resurrect our childhood memories. War games with friends and against enemies, hide and seek, endless wandering around the summer city. An aching feeling settles in the lungs, and for a split second, it seems as if there is not the plastic smell of VR headset, but the smell of gravel and sand, heated by the sun. Even Russell, who accompanies Alyx throughout her adventure as a disembodied voice, sometimes feels more like an imaginary friend than a responsible adult.
Alex, have you ever heard of a club sandwich?
This function is reserved for Eli, a father who sends his daughter on a dangerous mission, perhaps to buy some bread in the neighboring district. Like a child's fantasy constructed while walking through a wasteland, HLA's narrative is made up of an environment passed through a perception prism, both ours and Alex's. This post-apocalyptic world, overgrown with alien flora and inhabited by no less alien fauna, is attractive for its otherness. It beckons with challenges, from research to battles, from puzzles to weapon upgrades. And although Alex grew up in this world, her craving for knowledge is stronger than her fear or caution. She seeks to explore and learn while dreaming about the future. For her, the journey through the quarantine zone is as new and interesting as our own outdoor strolls once were for us. Just like that, a franchise that went from a story of an equal struggle to a power fantasy turns into a child's jaunt. It's full of surprises, strange yet exciting discoveries, and an overwhelming sense of wonder. It doesn't matter if you miss looking for plastic bullets in the grass or frantically refilling your water pistol. It's all the same if you are sad because you can no longer befriend someone you just met, or that a chestnut plucked from a tree cannot be used as a grenade. Whether you yearn for muttering under your breath,
It's that time.
or for the way your parents call you home by night, it doesn't matter. Something from your childhood is sure to be reflected in Half-Life Alyx, a story carefully crafted by its developers from the memories of their own youth, a youth that coincided with the first games of the series. Alex's childhood ends with the game. A man in a suit offers the girl a deal, and we are not given any illusions of choice. What kid would willingly accept the death of a loving parent? Alex prevents Eli's fate, and is thus forced to take a step into the unknown. She disappears from her father's life, not at all the way they expected, but the way it usually happens in the real world. Someone in a suit doesn't just take Alex away, no, he hires her. The reckless walks are over. Now come the tasks that Gordon Freeman was unable or unwilling to complete. It's a job. It's a routine. And so, we leave Alex in the dark, of which she is so afraid. But she is not alone. Together with her, our inner child remains, waiting for something else to set them free, to study, to explore, to live. I'm turning 27 this year, the same age as the physicist taking the crowbar in the post-credits scene. He will free Alex. Looking through his eyes, I know that the rest is up to us.